Thank you for joining us today on the Farmers Risk Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Custer. I have the pleasure of being joined by Eric Snodgrass today. Eric is a science fellow and principal atmospheric scientist for Nutrien Ag Solutions, where he develops predictive analytics software solutions to manage weather risk for global production agriculture. Before transitioning to Nutrien Ag Solution, Eric was actually teaching as Director of Undergraduate Studies for the Department of Atmospheric Science at my alma mater, University of Illinois, between 2006 and 2019. Unfortunately, I graduated in 16 and never had the chance to take your class, but hindsight's 2020. But Eric, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I do miss sometimes teaching those courses. I had a lot of fun doing that. But, I was mid-career at the university. I loved it. I still have a lot of great ties with them, but I was like, let's just try something different. So I jumped over to the private sector. So I still live close to the university, though. So I love seeing those folks.
Still follow Illinois basketball, football,
all that gosh, stuff? Yeah. To a fault.
We're going to jump into weather today, but before we do that, since you are an Illinois basketball fan, Kofi Cockburn, is he coming back or not? We'll get your weather prediction and then also your Kofi Cockburn. Will he come back or into the draft prediction?
All right, I'll be thinking about it while I tell you about the weather.
Sounds good.
All right, so there's a lot going on, and at the beginning of every new month, we have some new information that shows up that we really have to start discussing. So, hold on, we're going to go through some great stuff here as we kind of dig through this forecast. Let me share my screen here, and then we'll be able to dig right in. So the newest thing we just had released was the latest data that comes from Colorado State University, and what you're seeing here is their forecast for hurricane activity for 2022. And once again, they've got us pegged for above average this year. So a normal season has about 14 to 15 named systems. We're looking at 19. You can look through the rest of the stats here, but basically they're all above average. One of the big reasons for that is because this particular summer, we're concerned about the continuation of a La Nina. So we've had this La Nina developing all winter, kind of backed off in February, and then surged back in March, and it sits and looks like this right now. It's all that cold water in the middle part of the Pacific Ocean. Now, a year ago, when we think about this, it looks something like this. So back April 7th, 2021, we had the leftovers of a La Nina, but it was fading pretty quickly. And by the time we got into summer, it was basically gone. What was important about last summer was all this. See that? That large area of warm water kept encroaching farther and farther toward the west coast of North America. And what that did was that took the heat risk from the midsection of the country farther to the west, and that's where we saw it last year. Now, what's fun to do is to do a little bit of model verification. So I'm going to show you in a few seconds what the new long-range forecasts look like. Last April 2021, this is what the best model in the world said May, June, and July was going to look like. So it's a lot of dryness from the southern plains through the central plains, western corn belt, getting back to Montana. See that? And then over here, that's the same region they were expecting hot, from the plains into the Great Basin. So let's verify. Let's see how well the models did. So this was the May, June, July forecast last April. On the precipitation side, did not get it right in the midsection of the country. Look at how wet things were. The northern part of the U.S., the upper Midwest, was not forecast. Take a look. Was not forecast to be dry, yet it came in very dry, especially Minnesota. They did a better job in the West. On the temperature side of it, all the heat went west as well. And this area was forecast to have a hot summer and had the opposite. So this just illustrates that these long-range predictions are speculative, and they're based off of just a couple of things in these long-range models. So let's do one more thing. How about July, August, September? So that last year, the models were predicting quite a bit of dryness in the midsection of the country, an active southwest monsoon, an active hurricane season. And you can see over here in the central and western part of the Corn Belt, getting into the western plains, hot. So let's go see. Did better, nailed active hurricane season. But it really missed out in the western Corn Belt, place where it said was going to continue with the dryness. We had those August and September rains and then heavy rains in October, which was after when this map is valid for. So what I'm trying to just illustrate here is that these long-range predictions, you can't bet the farm on them. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to change. And so let's just take a look now at what the newest long-range predictions are. So I'm just going to cut right to it. Let's start in the middle of summer. June, July, August, models have aggressively gone over dry in the mid-section of the country. You say, why are they going over dry? It's because these models have continued to keep this La Nina feature around. And they've brought in some warmer water in through here, but not enough to really knock completely out the risk of keeping some cooler water in place. So they just see that and they say, well, this is, how dynamically the atmosphere responds, and it tends to give us an active southwest monsoon, an active hurricane season, and tucked in the middle, some higher pressure. Now that's June, July, August. We still have to get there first. What's going on before that? Now this is a little bit better in terms of forecast accuracy because it's closer in time. What I think we're going to be concerned about is very tight planting windows in and across the eastern corn belt. We've already seen a lot of precipitation as of late. I mean, there's been a few places that have been missed in Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee recently with rainfall, but it appears as though a lot of spring is going to be just dodging raindrops. The other part of this that's got me really concerned is what are the temperatures going to do? Because I look out there and say, a lot of folks think Easter is the time to really get going, and the models have really keyed in on another blast of colder air in and around the Easter kind of holiday and that week, surrounding it. And I just don't like that because that means soil temperatures don't come up. That's usually associated with some wet weather as well, and we got to be on the lookout for that. And if you really want to see something crazy before all of this goes down, this is maybe where I'll finish with this first part. Take a look at, it's not this one, but how about this? Here we go. You ready? We are expecting a pretty sizable winter storm next week. This is next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The models keep honing in on the potential for some very heavy snow on the kind of on the Missouri River Basin and around it. And this is an area that's been in big time snow deficit this winter. To be honest, I don't want this snow for the people that live there, but I want this snow based upon where we currently sit with drought. And here's the latest drought monitor that was just released today. So this is all going to be one of those years where we are just watching week by week to see how the pattern evolves and changes. What I just want to share with you, though, is that this is a year where I do start to see increased risk of drought once again, expanding on some places that really matter throughout the breadbasket of the United States. So we've got to keep an eye on this.
Did the snow that's going into Nebraska, et cetera, is that enough to get them up to average?
No, not even close.
Really?
No, and here, I'll show you again what's going on there. The problem was this. Let's just go look up percent. I make this map every day. It shows the percent of snowfall from September 30th until today. And this particular region in through here has seen, like this part of Nebraska, which isn't going to get the heavy snow, at least we don't think so right now, is like at 20% of normal.
Oh, wow.
So that was a rough winter on this part of Nebraska. So a lot of that snow was kind of coming into this corridor and then eventually getting on the headwaters of the Mississippi and then on the Red River, which of course drains to the north here. So that's your snowfall compared to average map right there.
Okay. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head in regards to some of that heat that we experienced last summer in Montana. I remember going to a conference in Omaha, and all these people from out the Pac Northwest said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I can go to Omaha, Nebraska in the middle of August so I can cool off a little bit because we're not used to what it." Yeah, it was absolutely nutty.
Yeah, Portland, Oregon, back at the end of June last year hit 116 Fahrenheit. And most of the climate reporting districts from June 1st to about mid-August broke their 75-day records for summer during that time stretch. That's again the beginning of June to mid-August. And it was rough. And that drought extended just across the Western Corn Belt all the way to about the Mississippi River, and it stopped. So it was a rough go of it. And there was a lot of folks wondering, when was it going to break and if it was going to break? And then August shows up and rains like mad in places. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, never mind. We're going to have fantastic yields after we thought we were going to get destroyed. And that's the way the atmosphere is. And no, I couldn't have predicted it any farther out than I think any other good meteorologist could have either.
Okay. Well, obviously there's going to be a lot to pay attention to over in the next few months, and especially as folks get ready to plant. And you hit the nail on the head. Obviously there's that Easter, and right after Easter, it seems like everybody's got to get ready to get going. Some people even do it the Sunday afternoon of Easter, get antsy and want to get into the field, much to maybe some family members' demise. But how can we continue to follow some of this stuff? I know you have a good email, and we can catch you out on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, a great way to get contact with I do a bunch of daily weather reports and some videos. Anybody can get a hold of them via email me, just eric.snodgrass@nutrien.com. I can get you hooked up with it. Or I can also send you the link, Nick, if you want to pass it out. Just, again, it's free. You can subscribe. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. Won't hurt my feelings. I'll keep forecasting weather regardless. And we'll see if we can't put together a good story for this upcoming growing season.
Perfect. Well, hey, thank you so much for the time. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you and finally in this medium again. I saw you a few years ago. Was impressed with your presentation and everything like that, and so it's an honor to connect.
Yeah, well, it's fun talking about this stuff. I can't believe they pay me to do it, so I get a kick out of it.
Well, hey, take care, Eric. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yep. See you later.
See ya.